just so honored to read your shares and your messages of what really was causing you some struggle. And so thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My promise to you tonight is that actually in the short time we spend together, because I only have till 10. My day starts at 5. And so to be prepared for my VIP tomorrow, my promise to you is that I'm going to share my top favorite mindset hacks that you need to truly understand to really create the results and success in your life. So you can think of them as cheat codes that make playing the game of life way more fun. So thank you, Janice, for having me on here tonight and giving me this opportunity to serve your incredible group of women. I'm honored by that. And also thank you, Andrea, because of course, she's definitely the cause behind all of this and having me be on. So I want to thank you guys. Just a little bit, share a little bit of my story, that you can benefit from the hacks that I've picked up along my lifelong quest to understand success. I'm a wealth and mindset coach, and really what I do best is I help my clients create results by shifting into their full potential, really so that they live that. And so instead of all these books that we read and all this personal development, all these courses, it just really becomes a reality instead of like concepts. I had a client tell me recently, a Polish guy, he said, you're like the cleaning lady for my head. And I think that's hysterical because that really is true. So that's exactly what you could call me, like the cleaning lady for the head. So I think that's just so funny. So how did I get to be like this, and how did I get here? I was that little girl that drove my mom nuts, always wanting to know, like, why? Well, why? Like, why is it that we're poor? And it really, not that I was jealous of other people, but I didn't really get and understand why some people were poor and some people had so much. And that constant, like, well, why? Well, why? And not being able to figure it out. Like my quest for understanding this really led me in many directions. And I've spent a fortune of my own coaching and being trained by the best and the best of the business. I have worked with some incredible people. And I've read every book I think I could ever get my hands on. But somehow, and I want to touch and ask you guys, somehow all of that wisdom I encountered really landed more as a theory and not as real practical advice. And so I'm just wondering, if you guys could just like show me, you can just raise your hand. Like, is that how does that land for you? Like where you've read a lot of stuff or taken a lot of courses and you just feel like it's like landing as just theory? Anybody? Okay, Jacqueline, good. Cynthia, okay, good. Because I'm just curious who else this lands like that for. So which brings me to the first big lie about success. The lie number one is that success is a destination, right? And you just want to check in and see, is that how you have it? Eventually, I did go on to build a multi-million-dollar insurance company that I owned, my first company, and I ran that for 24 years. But something was still missing. And I thought that if I was successful and I created wealth, then I should be happy, right? Like, my whole life, I was poor and I was always trying to get somewhere else. And then I just thought that I would arrive, and I never did. And so it's that when that moment, never came, I began to ask myself and question well, why? And that's how I discovered the truth, which the truth is the number one truth that I want to give you is that success, as simple as this may sound, is an inside job first. It's an inside job. So this means that your mind must arrive at your destination before your life will. It's not a destination to get to, right? And even if you build wealth, wealth just magnifies who you're already being. right? So that's why, even though I had created wealth in the insurance industry, it was never going to make me feel successful because I was still not living from my full potential. I really just kept feeling inadequate. So that's all it did, was magnify that. The reality was I didn't want to be in the insurance business, but at the time it seemed really logical, right? Like I wanted to be safe. I wasn't safe as a child. I wanted safety. Insurance was safe, right? I mean, how much safer can that get? Like, who here doesn't want to leave their safe job, right? Anybody can relate to that, right? Yeah, totally get that, right? As someone who grew up poor, all I knew was that I did not want to be poor ever again, which brings me to the second lie. And that is, knowing what you don't want is not enough. And I know, again, that may sound so obvious, but there is where a lot of people get stuck, because they might know what they don't want, but they're not clear, crystal clear on what they do want. And like me in the insurance industry, I knew that I didn't want to be poor, but I lacked the clarity of vision of what I really wanted in my life. And that's just really the truth. So you need the truth is, number two is, you need to have a clear vision of what you want in order to create what you want. So it's got to be so clear that you can hold a clear mental picture of what you desire at all times in order to navigate towards it. It's kind of like, picture you're driving in your car, right? You would never and you're going to a destination you've never been before, right? So if whatever you want, it's something you've not been there, you would never get in your car without the specific destination that you were going to go to, right? Like, does that make sense? Otherwise you would just drive around in circles and so forth. So the mind needs the exact same thing, like the exact same thing. If you don't give it a specific target, I want to make this much money a month, right? It doesn't have a landing point. And that's what creates the overwhelm. That's actually what creates the randomness. That's actually what creates the procrastination, the stuck, the stop, the struggle, because it's like orbiting out there and like a satellite. And it's like, it doesn't have anything to latch on to. It's just fascinating how this actually really works. So why is this? Well, success starts with making a decision. Right? To have what you want, but you have to make the decision before the how will ever show up. Right? Like, I know that most people are I hear this all the time, they're like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. It doesn't work that way at all inside of anything, the way the universal laws work and the way there's a science to getting any result that you want. And so I'm going to explain that. I'll give an example. So let's say you were going to make a cake, right? And you've never made a cake before, right? And imagine that the cake is how much money you want to make. Because really the truth is, nothing's off limits. And if you can imagine it, you have the ability to create it. So whatever amount that is for you, imagine that's a cake, but you've never baked a cake before. You've never made a cake before. So before you could ever make a cake, you have to decide you're going to make a cake, right? You're not going to get the result before the decision. Does that make sense? Like, it seems so common, but you're going to see where you've not made this decision. And that's why you don't have the result, because you're waiting for something, or you're not made the decision. So the decision must always come before the result will show up in your life. So most people don't make the decision. They want the result, but they stop right here, and they'll say things like, well, it would be nice, or wouldn't it be nice, but oftentimes what we're actually doing is we're pretending that we made a decision, when in truth, all we really did was say, we will try. And then as soon as it becomes uncomfortable, we actually prove ourselves right. And we go, see, I knew it wasn't going to happen, right? Like, I knew it wasn't going to work for me. So without judgment, for how many of you have you thought that you've made a decision, right? In reality, though, you're just really saying you'll try. Right? Okay, good. Then this is going to be so valuable, because when you can see that, that's what's keeping you from your success, right? Because try to pick up a pen, right? You either pick it up or you don't, but you can't try. It's really that black and white. And when we put it into universal laws, like the laws of cause and effect, right? You cannot try something and get the result. You actually just get the result of trying. So it'll show up in your life like a lot of busy work, but no results. That's what it looks like to try based on universal law. So good stuff, really, really good stuff. So it's just not a true decision. And in our mind, we think it was, right? That's why I was suffering for so long, because I didn't really get that I wasn't. So, but once you decide to make your cake, right? And it doesn't matter, again, the amount of money you want, it's inside of this cake. Once you make that decision, then you start to take the steps to get to make that cake. So there's a process that needs to happen, just like the process to creating any result. Just becoming aware that you want a cake is not enough to get a cake. And most people think it is. And this comes from school. So in school, we're taught that if we just learn something, like where we just see something, recite it back, memorize it, and then repeat it, it's enough to get an A. And that is not true in life. You don't get a result just from knowing it and being able to recite it. So you have to go, there's a few more things that need to happen inside of the process of getting the result you want. So let's go to the cake recipe again, because sometimes it's easier to hear how to make this money when we apply it to something that doesn't feel as threatening, like a cake. So let's say, so now you know, there's a process, right, that needs to happen for this cake. For, you know, you need a recipe. Okay, great. You need to know exactly what the process is, such that you know where you are along the process of that result. So it's not random, right? If you look at anywhere in the universe, there is nothing happening randomly. Like the sun is not randomly coming out like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then deciding at 8, and then like, it's not random. There is a certain order to everything. This is really important, because that's how everything really works. Like, right? Gravity is not random. It's like, it just is. So these laws are like the laws for everybody. It's an equal I call these laws equal opportunity employers, right? They don't just hand select who they're going to give gravity to, who they're going to give like cause and effect to. No, we all are affected about them, whether we are aware of them or not, whether we're ignorant to it being there. The law is the law. And so this is really important to understand that. So, all right, so let's say we go to we get the recipe, we go to the store, we buy the ingredients. So we've got the things, we're doing the things we need to do to make that money. And if you use the exact ingredients, and you use the flour, and you use the eggs, and use the vanilla, and you never put it in the oven, right? You actually never take action, but you've got all the ingredients. Would you ever get your cake? No, right? Like, it's like totally makes sense that that's not going to happen. Absolutely. And so now if you follow the recipe and use the exact ingredients, right? And everything you need, and you bake it, what do you think the chances are that you're going to get a bicycle? Right? Never. Not even like a 10% chance. Not even like no chance. But this is really important, because we don't want to make the decision until we know how to get the result. But the decision was what creates the result. And if we follow the process in the order, we are going to get our cake every single time. It's not like once in a while. It's not by luck, not by chance, right? It's amazing when this starts to like really click into place in my brain. It's like I still get amazed, and I've known this for years and years and years now, and it still blows my mind because I remember feeling like this. So no, we would never, it would defy law to get a bicycle. So if you follow the recipe for a cake and you use the ingredients for a cake, you're going to get a cake every single time. And most people are unconsciously, and I mean that with so much compassion, right? No judgment in any of this that I'm saying to you today. Most people are unconsciously using the ingredients for a bicycle. And then they're wondering why they're not getting their cake, right? This is why if you focus on what you don't want, you keep getting more of the same. So you might not even, be able to see the ingredients for the cake because you're so confused by the bicycle parts that you're finding all over the place. For how many of you does it feel like that? Does it feel like, overwhelm, procrastination, burnout, right? Inside of everything I read, it's like all those bicycle parts just keep showing up. and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, who put this stuff here? Right? Only to find out that I was the one who put it there. I just did it. Yeah, exactly. Right, Jacqueline? I'm like right there with you. Like I put it all there, but I was like, who is doing this to me? I mean, I could have written a whole book on that. Right? It's like, who put my stuff here? This is not my stuff. This is bicycle parts. So why is that? Well, let's get into the science part. Now I want to give you the science part, but I like to show it in some fun way to understand it from the cake. But I want to give you the science part of your brain for just a moment. I want to tell you about the reticular activating system. Now, the reticular activating system is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that basically acts as a filter. And its purpose is to filter this information that we receive from the world, right, around us, and help us focus on what we've decided is most important. Which is another way of saying our brain is really, really lazy, like super lazy, right? I mean, like, did you notice, like, if something's not entertaining and within 2 seconds, I'm scrolling past it. Like, right? Are we lazy? Like, we're not going to take time to try to figure something out. If something takes more than a few minutes, it's like, next, right? Well, this is important though, because why I'm pointing at this is the brain is doing this naturally. It's filtering information, right, around us based on what we have already pre-decided in our programming, what we believe. So that's what we see. This means that when we're in survival mode, because we have been taught to stay safe, and now our brain is on high alert for threats to protect us. So what it's doing is it's only looking for all the things that can go wrong. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's literally filtering out everything that could go right and any possibility or opportunity. And it literally filters like, that's not going to happen for me. Oh, that person, they're never going to sign up. Oh, those people, they don't need what I have. Like, it literally it literally is just proving ourselves right over and over again, even when we are wrong. And that's the most important part I want you to hear, right? Is like, it will prove itself right even when we're wrong. So when we're in survival mode, its only job is to stay safe. So it's on high alert for threats, and it's only looking for the things that are wrong. So that's why it only sees bicycle parts. And so the reticular activating system proves us right, even when we're wrong. So what you can say is it's a filter, yet it has no filter for the truth. That's the most amazing part about it. Like, it's a filter, but it doesn't filter the truth out. It only filters out what we already believe. That's like, is that landing? Like, I just want to make sure I'm not overwhelming you guys because I can't hear you since you're all on mute. But is it landing, Cami? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want to make sure because I know this is a lot. Like what? I just want to make sure it's really landing. So when
Yes.
okay, good. You'll let me know if it's not landing. Anybody interrupt me. You cannot offend me, right? Like I just really want to give you this. You cannot say something that's going to hurt my feelings or I'm going to get offended by. So you can just go, hey, wait a minute. Like I don't understand that, or that doesn't make sense. Like really interrupt me. But I just want to go through this and show you what this is. And then anything you don't understand, stop me in any moment. And so basically, when we're connected to our full potential, it shows us all, because the filter does whatever we believe, it will show us all the opportunities, right? So like it like all the opportunities, all the resources, all the relevant information that would be required to achieve our dreams, all of a sudden gets present to us when we are coming from our operating system about what is looking for our full potential versus our operating system that is from our ego, right? That feeling of not being good enough or not feeling worthy enough, or then it only finds more of that. And when we're coming from like, I've got this, like, I got this, I'm capable, I'm totally confident, I'm certain that even if I don't know how, when we've got that going for us, it finds everything that matches that. It's incredible how this thing works. So anything that's relevant to what we want suddenly appears clear because now we can see it. But until we've activated it to look for what we do want, by making the decision, we will keep hesitating or miss the opportunities because we can't see them. Right? And it's like this happens all the time in my work. I mean, that's what I do. So I have tons of stories I can share with you. I'll just share the most recent one because it was really funny to me. I'm talking to a woman in the UK yesterday, and she's like, I don't even know why I'm on the phone with you. How are you going to know something better about my life than I do? You live in the United States. I'm in the UK. Anyway, it's very, I've been doing this so much, and it's very easy for me to see patterns and see people's blind spots because they just light up for me, right? So, long story short, it shows up to me clearly what it is her purpose and clearly what she needs to do. And she's shocked out of her mind, like, that can't be. Could it really be that that's it? Right? Because her greatest in life, the way this works is our greatest pain becomes our greatest purpose. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I have never found anyone that this isn't true for. If you want to live the most fulfilling, satisfying life, you just add your purpose to whatever vehicle you choose that you can deliver your purpose through it. And you will be not only so successful, but also just completely fulfilled by it because it's going to give you everything. It will give it back to you over and over again. Every time I heal someone, I heal myself again. Every single time, right? I've been doing this years and it never gets old. Right? So it's like, when you're in your purpose, it just never ends. So I want to say that from that, because that reminded me of this client in the UK. And it's really like I was sharing with Janice today. It was so funny because when she saw it, she finally saw the truth and she's like, oh my gosh, you're right. This is why this keeps happening to me. And then she started connecting the dots. Oh, a week ago, this woman said, well, do you know anyone who could do this? And she's like, no, I don't know anyone that could do this. Cause like, she can't see it. Right. But it was always her, and then another guy would come and say, oh, do you know anyone who could do this? She's like, no, I don't know anyone that could do this. It reminds me of the story of like the guy that's on top of the roof and the floods are coming. Right. And God sends him a boat. And he's like, no, God will save me, right? It's kind of that feeling where it's like, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. Finally, I'm like, I called Mia and told her, just tell the lady. Tell her what she needs to do. So it's one of those kind of stories. But I get tons of those examples all the time because it literally, because of our reticular activating system, the things when we're in survival don't appear to us, but they're very obvious to someone who's not. Right? Somebody who's not in survival, right? So if you have another friend that you're talking to and they're in survival, they can't see your own stuff because they're in their own filter of their own survival. So that's why that never works, right? Misery does love company because those are two survivals, right? But somebody who's completely not in survival can see all of it, and they're not into the survival of it. So It becomes really clear. So this is why our results can never exceed our expectations, because our results are always, 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 always equal to our current levels of beliefs. Now we can change beliefs, right? Think about it. Think about what you believed when you were in your teens, how different it is from the beliefs you have now, right? We think they're like fixed until we really look back and go, oh my God, I can't believe I used to believe that, right? It's like, you just have to look for yourself. They're really not fixed, but we tend to think beliefs are like set in stone, when the truth is they're not. They're just habits of thought that we keep thinking, and we've actually ground into, hit record, into our subconscious programming. So they become automatic, like brushing our teeth. But we installed them. So if we can install them, we can install something new. Yeah, we're not stuck with them, which, if anyone's ever done Landmark, I'm just going to say, like, that's my biggest beef with Landmark in their training, is because they leave people thinking that they are their unanswerable question and their life sentence. And that drives me insane from the work that I do, because if you are the person who programmed you, then you are definitely the person who can unprogram you and put something else in. So I just want to say that, like, nobody is stuck in programming, right? Like, they can be unconsciously living it over and over again, but it's not true that there's like, once it's in programming, you're done. No. That's not the way it works. So I just want to put that out for the record, because I get a lot of Landmark people, and they're always shocked that they can literally move past that, because they don't teach that. So this is why our results can never exceed our expectations. Our results are always equal to our current levels of beliefs, and we can't see what we can't believe, right? Even eye doctors know this. We don't see reality. We see perception of reality. Very different. Very different. So whatever we believe is what we can see, right? It's not reality. Which brings me to the third lie, which is success is out there instead of in here, right? So we have it, yeah, right? Like, yes, it is right inside of each one of us, right? Because we're trained to believe that success is something we have to go get, or we have to struggle, or we have to work hard for. We get stuck trying so hard, and only to find that instead of seeing how easy it can be, it's actually really, really easy to be successful. It's programming that's hard. Success is easy. Programming is what's hard. Right? Until we change programming, that's what makes it hard. So like, I know people will say, like, really, Mia, can it be really that easy? But it really, really can. We can ask Andrea, and we can even ask Lynette, because they're both my clients and they're on here. And, let them speak for themselves. Like, Andrea, are you on? I want to make sure she talks.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Andrea, I don't want them to believe me. Now I want you to tell them the truth from your perspective. Now that you are in your success mindset, living from your potential, how does that feel?
Oh, amazing. Like, my experience with you has been transformational, honestly, because in the beginning I struggled with, like, I just met her. How is she gonna know everything about my life? But it's crazy how you, from our very first call, were able to identify the reason why I was having success in pet sitting and dog walking was because I was in alignment with it. I had a story behind it. So it's just eye-opening to, from that point on.
Yeah. And you used to struggle with anxiety and depression, and like, what are all the other things? Like, and now
Anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. I even asked God to take my life.
Yeah.
It was a really hard time for me. I didn't know what was holding me back. I didn't know how I can get out of that situation. I didn't have any friends. Lynette can tell you.
Yeah.
She was the only person who I would speak to for months. I didn't want anyone to see me. I had so much social anxiety when I went outside, and just even seeing people would get me anxious. I was uncomfortable with myself. I believed lots of lies, like, what are they going to think about me? What are they going to say about me? I thought everything was about me, but it really wasn't. So just with the whole pet sitting and dog walk, I was able to connect to my purpose and now live from potential.
Yeah, and raise the roof. You like went from like, barely with 2 jobs making like 2,000. Now you're killing it at 5,000 a month doing one job that you love. Like, hello, this is fantastic. And you don't have any anxiety, right? You're like really like you're on social media live.
I couldn't believe it myself. Like I saw that like 3 times. I was like, wow, just the idea just came to my mind, and I was like, just go for it. Because I was like, I do catch myself. I'm like, oh no, I don't know. What if you're going to think or say, like, doesn't matter, just go for it. Like, doesn't matter. And I was telling Janine, she's on the call and she can testify. I was telling her this morning, I was like, something that I've learned from you is that you can't operate in fear and faith at the same time. You're either in ego, which is fear, anxiety, depression, or you're in faith and taking leaps of faith and making decisions based on faith. So I was trying so hard to fight fear, when reality, I learned with you that I needed to focus on faith. And of course, in my spending time with God and filling myself up with his love and taking leaps of faith, making the decision before I even saw the reality, like quitting my job was a huge deal for me. I was there for 8 years, and I didn't know how to get out or how to make that decision, but I was supported. I was supported by Mia, by my sister, by my brother-in-law, by a lot of people, by Janice. I just took the step of faith, and I'm so happy I did.
No, you have done amazing, like absolutely amazing. I'm just so happy for you, because that's what it is, right? That's what it feels like. It just feels so different coming from, but that's what my point. It's easy when you're in your full potential. It is easy, right? Like from your own perspective. I don't want to be my word. Right?
Yeah. Success is easy. Like you said, it's programming. I love the recipe cake, and that's how I explain it when I am speaking to someone else, because like you said, it's like if you have the recipe to make a cake and you buy everything that you need to make that cake, and you do everything that you need to do correctly, to make the cake, then you can't have a bicycle. Like you said, you're gonna have a cake.
Every single time, even if your cake comes out the first time and it's as like juicy, like maybe it fell over, you're still gonna get a cake, and then you just make the tweak, right? And then you get it. So you just can't go wrong, right? You're not gonna get a bicycle.
So I remember during our first month, you told me, how much would you like to make? I laughed. I was like, 5K. She was like, okay. And then it was believing that I was deserving of success. I was like, I deserve success. Okay, I had to believe that first. And then it was like, okay, so what do you need to do in order to make 5K? It's like, well, we've been taught reverse engineer, right? So you break everything down that you need to do in order to create that and make that a living, breathing reality. So seeing it and picturing it and having that vision. So on days that I didn't work at the restaurant, I would have about 5 or 6 walks. And I would be like, this is what a life in a pet sitter's life and dog walking life looks like. I love this. I want more of this. Okay, I can picture, I can see it, I can live it. I'm ready to make that decision. So
awesome. So awesome. And that's how easy it is, guys. Like, that's why I wanted somebody else to say it, because, you could look at me and go, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say. But actually, I was like that. I used to be like that. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Andrea. It's awesome. So so you guys can think of it like this. We're all born with an imagination. Have you noticed that nobody taught you how to imagine? It's a gift from God, right? So you actually have within you your exact success instincts on exactly how to be successful. The imagination, which you came with. Also, nobody taught you how to feel. Have you noticed that? And you will notice that this is exactly how it is in nature, right? Like a squirrel, just to give an example, just so you can tie how you can see how this is, the evidence of this is really true. A squirrel, right, knows to how to collect nuts and store them from the winter, even though it has never experienced winter. It was born in the spring. Right? Every single living creature has within it a success instinct. It's natural. It's natural. It's easy to be successful. It's programming that takes people out, right? It's believing you're not worthy, and you weren't born that way. Every single person who doesn't believe that they're worthy wasn't born with that. That actually comes during an experience of being shamed. It's created in childhood. So I know, because I cure that all the time. But I can tell you that it's natural for you to be successful. So it's so easy to lose sight of that fact that everything we see with our physical eyes was created by a human being who was willing to see it in their mind before there was any evidence of it. Right? Like the computer I'm talking on, to the house that I live in, nothing that you can see with your physical eyes was ever first created before it was created in the imagination, held to that idea, focused into the body, and then believed it such that it became a reality. That is the natural way to create everything. And yet we're not told that. So I just want to bring you back home to who you really are. So that's how this is why most people get stuck waiting, because they're waiting for the show me. Well, show me first and then I'll do it. It doesn't work that way. There's no evidence in the universe that says that anywhere, but we all are looking for it. I know I was. Right? So that's what keeps people stuck and waiting for the evidence, needing to be 100% sure that their result is guaranteed before they attempt it. Right? It just doesn't work that way. So if you can imagine it, you can create it. And that's the truth. And so the truth number 3 is success comes from being and living your full potential. That's actually how it really works. Right?
Can you repeat that?
What, honey?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Which part? Like I just say things sometimes off the cuff, so I don't even know what it is.
Sorry, the truth. You said success comes from.
Oh yeah. Truth number 3. Success comes from being and living your full potential.
Thank you.
Right? That living, breathing experience that you were just explaining, Andrea, is like, that is what that really looks like, right? It's that living from. It comes from. It's a come from. Right?
It's like really like getting down and brainstorming what would the perfect day look like for you if it was your reality, and then dissecting it and like really, like you said, like breathing it, like living it, like feeling it. What does that feel like? Yeah. And at first it may feel awkward. Like I was telling Janice, something that you had me do was I had a lot of weight that I've lost. I have a big transformation story, which is I'm really proud of. But my lie was I'm fat. I was believing I'm fat, but the truth is I have fat in my body. That doesn't define who I am. I'm not fat. I just have excess weight to lose, nice. which is okay, because you know we've all been there. So it was okay. You would tell me, now tell yourself I love my body, and I would say like I love my body. And I said it because you had me go through the exercise, but I didn't feel that. I was like, I don't feel anything. I was like, I don't love my body. That was my truth. Yeah. So
that wasn't your truth. That was your programming.
That was my like that's what I believed at the moment.
I know. That wasn't the truth. I just want to separate the truth from the lie, because that's ego, right? Because that anytime we are judging ourselves is always ego, because we are trying to measure up or against some standard that is outside of ourselves. So do you see why that is an ego? That's from ego. I just want to make sure that
judgment.
Yeah, it's because she was in the self-judgment. And every time we self-judge, we go into ego to do that. We have to leave our full potential on our spirit to the success that we are to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out because it's a key component on what she's saying. So go ahead.
Yeah.
So you believe that you.
I kept telling myself, I love my body. I love my body. So I started operating from my loving my body. Okay, what does loving my body look like? Well, if I love my body, I'm eating vegetables. I'm eating healthy. I'm drinking my Shakeology, which is superfood ingredients that is gonna help me feel energized. And what am I gonna do with the extra energy? Well, I'm able to walk a doggy without getting tired and overwhelmed and feeling like inadequate. So that extra energy made my day so much better. So just loving, I fell in love with it, and then I ran with it. But I had to persist. It was perseverance. I had some setbacks, but I would always connect myself to the vision and the end results.
Yeah, I really love that because what you're giving an example of, which is exactly what we talked about. Like, you can't resist something and get the opposite, right? By law of cause and effect, whatever we resist persists. So she couldn't, like, what I was helping her see is you can't hate your body and get an amazing body. That defies law, right? That's literally going like against gravity. Try jumping up in the air and sticking. Like, it just doesn't work. As much as you want to try to go against the law just is, right? So you can't hate something about yourself and then get the opposite. It just totally defies law.
Yeah.
Right? You can't focus on disease and get health. It defies law, right?
Yeah.
This is the truth of what that. And so what I shared with her is, for you to have an incredible body is you're going to have to love yourself there. It's the opposite, but the only way to get there, right? The only way to get there, right? The only way to get there is by loving it, because loving it will produce more love. And the more you love it and you produce more love, then it just starts going away, right? What you don't want goes away, and what you're focusing on, you get more of. So the incredible body that you're focusing on, that you're going to have, as if it's already not right now, is what stays, and everything else has to go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's working with the laws. That's why she can lose so much weight in the shortest period of time. Because she's working with the law instead of against it. Now you add your incredible products, which are really awesome for you, and then you feel good about, like, that just makes it like even off the top, right? But it's in synchronicity. It's in working with the law. You can't work against the laws.
Yeah.
There's just no way to have results then. Which is good news, because I wish somebody would have told me. I'm 50. I wish somebody would have told me this, like, when I was Andrea's age. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Took me a lot longer to get this information, let me tell you. So in my opinion, it's good news, because once you get it, then all you have to do is follow the laws and you'll get everything you want. So then it stops being like, oh, I hope this is going to work out for me, or I hope that, it's not random.
I can give another example. For example, this was my first time eating higher fat, lower carb meal plan with my workouts. So I didn't go into it like John has helped me see. You have to go into it all in. You have to be all in and just go for it. Not like, picking at things or thinking, oh, I'm going to try. Like you said, I'm totally going to go for it. And I believed that it's going to work for me. And I believed the energy that I was going to feel. And I was, like you said, focused on the end result, which is how, what am I going to do with the extra energy? What would I be able to do different? And you get the idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it works every single time. So success, like, I know I'm giving you, these seem so simple, but these, when you apply them and live from these principles, they really are life-changing. And so, and I know we've gone over a lot of these little shifts, but if if there's one that I want you to take away from, this is a great one, is success is not a place to get to, it's a place to come from. So just living from that principle right, it really comes from being and living your full potential. And you can't possibly access your full potential when you're in survival mode. So you can't thrive if you're just trying to survive. It would defy law. That's why the poor get poorer, and I was one of them, and the richer get richer, and I've been one of them. Like, the reason that works is not because somebody's less than and better than, and has nothing to do with that. It's what inside of the programming, if we are focused on survival, we can only get more survival. But if we're focused on thriving, we get more thriving by law. And this is what I call, like, you know, what I call being an ego, right? When we're in surviving, that's what I call ego. And so I like to just define that a little bit, because I know if you're anybody like I was, when I used to hear the word ego, I would like, oh, that's not me. Because I thought ego is someone who's arrogant. And so I was like, well, I don't have a problem with that because I'm definitely not arrogant. But I didn't really get that ego is so much more. I like to think of it as a spectrum, right? So it's kind of like, it looks like this, right? Like if it's a circle, right? Like it's easier to see it in this way, but it's like this, right? So if superior ego is up here, then inferior ego is over here, right? So it ranges like this. And we all have had both of that, and we've all had signs of both of it inside of ourselves, right? But basically, ego and inferiority is going to be like overthinking, feeling confused. It's going to be afraid of people's judgments, indecisive, feeling self-doubt, right? That's all inferiority ego, right? So these are all the feelings of like not being good enough, right? So this is the interesting thing when this happens, when this occurs, and we, you know, the first time we create our ego, the interesting thing is when we do, it literally, the only way we can go is we can either be less than human, try to be less than human, right? Try to not take up any space, not be seen, or we try to be more than human, right? We try to be more than human. But that's what that feels like. So it feels like anything from inferiority ego to then superiority ego. So anytime we're defending, that would be like superiority ego. Anytime we're pretending, that would be inferiority ego. Anytime we're protecting, right, that would be superiority ego. Anytime we're manipulating, that would be inferiority ego, right? When we're trying to force an outcome, superiority ego, right? Can you see how much we fluctuate? I just wanted to show you, it's not like, you know, it's not just for those people who are just prideful and arrogant, right? Like that's what ego looks like. And so I like to give that example of it. And so, you know, that is the basics and the key of what will have you be the most successful is not operating from your ego. It doesn't mean that you get rid of it 100%, like that you're never going to have an, you know, something trigger you, but I don't live from there. So like it's just when something does happen, it's so rare, but when my ego does show up, it's so noticeable to me that I was like, oh, look at that, right? Like it's so obvious to me that I'm, you know, oh, I just got triggered by that. Like, what was that? And then I can see instantly what the misunderstanding was and then clean it up. So I just pop right out, right? So if I pop in, I can pop out. And originally the way it looks is you go from where you're operating over here in ego, or let's say if it's like to mirror that, it's like if this is ego, and then it like what I find my clients will do is they go from being over here all the time to then here, and then they're like caught between, and then pretty soon this like goes away, and then they just come from here, and then every once in a while there's a pop, and then like, but then they know how to get back in here, and then they operate from here. So that's kind of like the easiest way I can explain it. So, and that's really why Andrea came to me, is because she saw the results her brother-in-law was getting because he was working with me, and he's killing it right now. He's on track for a 200% increase in his business right now.
Yeah. Amazing.
I know, isn't that so cool? Like,
yeah, I saw his recognition.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
I love that, right? He's breaking records. He's on pay. He's a network marketer. So, he's in the same, in the business. So, but that's really why is because he has no ego. His ego is not running him. And so let me give you an example. So, what we did was we worked together. We broke down his ego, and then he was able to see himself clearly for the first time. And then he realized that he used to judge his appointments, right? This is for all of you who, get stuck in this one. He used to judge his appointments based on their titles and money, meaning that if he felt superior to their titles and money, then he would find himself talking down to them. And I'm not saying this is you, but this is where he was coming from. And then if he felt inferior to their titles or money, then he would feel like he needed to prove himself to them. Right? So by breaking down his ego, he was actually able to recognize and own the fact that he was capable. He wasn't his ego, right? He wasn't his ego, and that he was capable, and that he didn't need to prove himself anymore. So what happened is the result of that is he became someone who is 100% transparent and authentic, and that's what makes him unstoppable. Yeah. And so that's exactly what it is. So I want to before I want to hit your few things just before we finish tonight, if you have any questions, but I want to hit your things that you filled out. So I just wanted to show you a couple points on that, if that would make a,
I wanted to know if you want anyone to speak up.
No, anyone can always speak up. You don't need permission from me. I'm the person who tells you to speak up. Yeah. Anybody have anything you can ask me anything, share anything? Any questions? I was just going to look at your comments. I have them up in front. So
Elena made a comment.
Who?
Elena made a comment about something you said. The law of the lid, so true.
The law of what?
Of the lid.
The law of the lid?
Is she still on?
The law of the lid?
Elena, you there? No.
Oh, that's so funny. I know a Cynthia Flores. That's so funny. I know someone with that name.
You know her?
I don't know if I know her, but I know someone with the exact same name. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I know a Cynthia Flores.
He's asking how to work with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can always. I'll send a link if you want to come join my mindset mastery that's opening up in the beginning of next month. I can send that if that's something that you guys, if it's valuable to you, if you want to, you can find out if it's if you want more information, if it's something that occurs to you, you can always join. What else? Did you have a question, honey? I just want to make sure I'm answering all your questions. Did you have a question? No? I just want to make sure that I'm not leaving.
Did you say you were wanting to touch on the feedback?
Oh, but see, I didn't understand the law of the lid. What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
I just need to know what the law of the lid was. I said something else, but it probably sounded like lid, but I don't know what you heard me say. I'm just trying to think, what was I talking about? Because there's no law of the lid.
Go ahead, Elena. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know what's going on with my phone. But so you were talking about when, so there's a book about the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership.
The 20, what?
21 irrefutable laws of leadership.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yes.
And one of those laws is the law of the lid, where you can only do your knowledge, that's as far as you get.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really get above that. And that was just kind of what you were talking about in essence. So, when you said that.
No, that was that's beautiful, Elena. That is exactly so true. What will get us to, how it works is let me just speak for myself. So I used to be one of those people then, okay, all I did was my only strategy was I'm going to try really hard, right? To the point of burnout, right, Janet? I was I'm just going to try harder. And that was my only strategy, but it was all about me doing it, right? So that level of leadership could only get me a team of one, me. because in that mindset, I never even, and this comes from my childhood, right? Like I was really poor. We were really poor. And my parents always said to me, my mother said to me my entire life, don't ask for anything. Don't ask for anything. Right. So it is still to this day, like I'm really good at leveraging and I'm really good at like paying people for teams, and so I will pay people. That's right. Really easy. Like I'm really easy to pay people money and stuff. Where it still doesn't come like as a natural thing is like, I will be working my butt off and my partner will be sitting over there and I won't even think to ask him to do something to help me. Like, it's just so in my thing, like my programming, like I'm like, oh, and he's like, why don't you just ask me? And the funny thing of it is he does the exact opposite. He's the most laziest thing. Like he'll be like, somebody, you do this, you do that, you do this. And I'm like, what? How do you do that? Like, who does that? Right? But you know what I'm talking about? Like, so you're right. Like, the law of the lid. I love that. I don't know that one, but that makes total sense because you can only rise to the level. And that's why I always say we are our own glass ceilings. Like there's no glass ceiling. We are our own glass ceilings, 100%. So I love that. Love that you shared that. It's awesome. So like, if I read your things really quick, and Angel, you had said, wow, I think my biggest struggle is consistently speaking up to show the value of this opportunity and how I see that it can help meet their needs, especially on the money side. Since I'm not currently making thousands of dollars a month, I've already kind of decided. Now notice the words, what she used. Just, is Angel on here?
She's
No?
not.
Okay. Well, just Angel, this is for you. Notice what you said. I've already kind of decided in my mind all the reasons they will not like the fact that I'm inviting them to the opportunity and that I will put a bad taste in their mouth. Do you notice that that's the decision you made? Really important, right? Really important that if I make a decision that the only thing that I decide is that there's no way they're not going to even like me and I'm going to put a bad taste in their mouth, then that's what I'm going to get. It's like I had this guy one time and I was coaching and he goes, Mia, it's just that, I can't call people because, I just don't want to bother them. And I go, stop that. And he goes, yeah, right. Like, don't call them. Don't bother them. I go, no, stop being a bother. Like, why are you going to call and bother them? Right. Because my joke to him was like, if you're going to come bother me, don't bother me. But if you're going to call and be a contribution, you better call me all day long. Right. So it's like, where are we coming from? And her decision is what's stopping her. Right. And that decision, just so everybody, like, Angel, this is for you, but your decision of that's what's going to happen then prevents you from ever moving forward, which is why then you consistently struggle. So the struggle is a symptom of the core issue, which is the decision. So I just wanted to answer that one. And then Tina, are you on here? No. Okay, that's fine. So Tina, this one's for you since you wrote this in. I have a hard time letting go of my steady paycheck from my full-time job to having to rely on my own abilities as a network marketer, right? Andrea, you know this, letting go of that safety net, right? We think, so I'm going to respond to this, but we think that we can avoid risk. Here's the lie in this.
I love this. I know.
Right? Here's the big lie. I'm going to show you a lie about this. The lie is that what we've all been led to believe, because we've been taught to just stay safe and then die, right? Stay safe and then die, right? We've never been taught to thrive. Unless you were born in an incredible, which you wouldn't be on this call. Let's just be straight. You wouldn't be on this call if you were born into the 1%ers and you really got this, right? Everybody's on you've been born into a household where they taught you to just stay safe and then die. And so there's an illusion, there's a lie that we can actually avoid risk. Like somehow, like if we don't, the way that we're going to avoid risk is if we don't leave that safety paycheck, right? Like we don't leave the full-time job, right? That somehow that we're safe. But the lie is that we are not looking at actually all the cost that it costs us to stay that way. Like, what does it really cost to stay with that steady paycheck, right? Versus on what your potential is and what you could really make. And so when you get really present to the cost, what does it cost you mentally? I know Janice did this today, right? On my call with her, it's like when she got present to what the cost is mentally, what the cost is actually emotionally, right? And I mean every day, like every day, how much are you in stress? Every day, how much are you in worry, anxiety? Every day, how much stress do you have every day because of the way you're living inside of that? How much, what is it costing you emotionally? What is it costing you physically if it shows up as a physical symptom, right? Some people have terrible migraines from these kind of things. What is it costing you energetically, right? If you really look at the cost, what is it costing you financially? What does it cost you relationship-wise? What does it cost you spiritually? When you look at all the costs of what it costs you to stay the same, and then what you notice is if risk exists, then the equal and opposite by law, a law of polarity, the reward must equally exist at the same moment in time. So the truth is you can't avoid risk, because if risk is available, reward is available. Does that make sense? If my right hand is available, my left hand is available at the same moment in time. So I'm not really avoiding one, right? All I can actually do is actually choose the risk that is going to pay the highest return, right? I can't get rid of risk. I can just choose the risk that will pay the highest return. So again, not operating from ego, you can completely thrive and let go of your paycheck. Like you would do it first. You would build that up so you can start seeing how you're going to do it. You need to know the science of it. I wouldn't just tell you to jump. I would tell you to understand the process, and then it becomes very quantifiable. Like just like what Andrea did. It's like she could see like this is exactly how she's going to do this, and then she started doing it, and she started making money, and she started and then it just became natural, whereas like she'd have to turn down jobs to stay safe. Does that make any sense? She'd have to turn down jobs. She'd have to say no.
I literally had, I can tell you more than like almost 10 jobs that I'm so sorry, I can't because I had work at that time. I started seeing a pattern, like this is really costing me more.
That's when you get present to the truth. That is the real truth. So I just wanted to give you that, Tina. That's going to really, when you get present to that, and then, that will really, really support you, because the lack of organizational skills, that's all, again, inside of ego, to stay busy and confused and not organized, so you don't have to deal with the cost of how much this is costing you to stay the same, right? Like we get symptoms, right? But that's not the core issue. You're not a disorganized person. You don't have organization because you haven't made a decision to actually make more money, which is why you don't have that. So just want to clean that up for you. Cynthia Flores. Okay, here. So Cynthia, if you're on, this is
She's on.
My partner keeps calling me. Okay, good, Cynthia. So you wrote, I think my problem is making time. When I do make time, knowing where to start, adding value to my post and inviting is where I struggle. I dream of the day that I can make this my 100% full-time job, make enough so that I can bring my husband home with me, and I need to feel more confident in myself. Finding business builders is where I struggle. I want to be able to be an example for my current and my new coaches that this business does work. If you put the time and effort, 100%. So with this, you said, I think my problem is making time. It's never a time issue, right? Time is going to be a symptom, just like busyness and so forth. It's never a time issue. It's what's underneath that you're not putting the time, like why it's not a priority. So if you're on, you can share that with me if you want. Like, what is it that has you, like, I get the finding business builders. So that's going to be inside of what who you think business builders are, and where do you fall in ego when you think of them? Are you an inferiority ego? And so therefore you feel like you can't approach them. And is that the struggle? Like, what are you making? That's what I would need to know. Like what is it actually is the core? Is it that the way you perceive those people, or is it that you really haven't gotten a clear plan? Like you really just haven't laid it out. Are you there?
Yes, I think that that's it, that I just really don't have a clear plan laid out. I mean, I want to do it, and I see that people have been successful with it, and I just maybe feel like I'm not good enough and that I can't.
Yeah. So that's all inferiority ego. And so we just complete that in the programming, like you get that complete, and then you will actually build the foundation from complete worthiness and more than enough. You just have to, that is all inferiority ego. Once you sort that out, which is not hard to do, like, right? Like you can just jump in my mindset mastery course, right? That's an easy, way to go in. You will sort that out, and that will not stop you anymore. And then you see, like, once you get that, because that becomes what stops you from getting the clarity, right? Mm-hmm. Believe me, that was my number one pattern. Like my number one pattern is I would go into confusion, right? I don't know what to do. I'm not sure. I wasn't pretending. So when I'm saying this to people, I'm not saying you're pretending that. I literally would become confused. Like I would go, like if I look in my childhood, there are a lot of things I don't remember. I would just literally, because I didn't want to, I did it to protect myself. I literally would not remember things. So I have a lot of things where when I feel trauma, I literally just go into freeze mode and I don't even remember what happened around that. So I'm really telling you that I totally get this, like, a pattern of confusion. It's not that I'm saying it's not happening, but it's all coming from inferiority ego. And when we complete that, you stop being confused. It all comes from the ego. That, like, doesn't it give you like great thing? Like this is not, you don't have to live like this. That's like the biggest message I want to give you. You don't have to live that way. You think you have to live that way because it's all you ever known, but you don't know. But then now it becomes really clear, and then we'll just map out exactly what it is you need to do then from there, and then you're going to kill it, right? Because you're just going to follow the exact process, and then you're going to get your cake every single time. Yeah, so that is it. It's just not what you think. It's not in that. It's not a time issue for sure, and it's it's definitely just inside of inferiority ego. So. Awesome. Do you have any other question for me on that, just so before I answer another one?
No, thank you.
My pleasure. All right. So Jacqueline, she said, I think my biggest struggle is feelings of inferiority, which is, again, inferiority ego. Growing up, I always had the stigmatism attached to me. It has given me a fear of being incorrect. Absolutely. I had this one as well. Where you just can't be wrong. And in fact, in my household, to be wrong, something bad really happened. That's when we got the belt. Like anytime we were really wrong. So I used to have this huge fear of being wrong. And so she said incorrect complex and a fear of not having the correct knowledge. So I think I struggle most with the mindset. Yes. When it comes to money, I think I would do well at managing, but it would be nice to have a lot more to manage. Absolutely. Maybe not in the same manner as others, but I'm willing to learn. When it comes to having successful business, I'd love to find the balance between professional and realism. That one I'm not quite sure of. Like, I don't really know what that means to you. Are you on, Jacqueline? No?
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Cool.
I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so, all right. So, like, with what I shared with you tonight, can you start seeing where these are all? Like, is it starting to? Yeah, good. So you tell me. So you tell me, because I would prefer it if I can really see that it's landing. What do you see now based on what you wrote before and what you now know?
Basically just to stop trying to put forth something that I'm feeling at this point. Like when I'm feeling inferior.
Yeah.
And without the knowledge and stuff like that, I need to start thinking more positive and putting a positive effort into what it was I want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And no, it does. It really does. And the feeling of like, do you feel like the fear of being incorrect, meaning, do you feel like, are you someone that always needs to have more information, more knowledge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
if somebody tells me something, I want to go look it up. I don't want to just go off of what somebody says. I do not like not being right. I don't like being wrong.
Totally get it. I
If that makes
totally
sense,
get it.
yeah.
Because I totally get it. And what does being wrong mean to you? Just out of curiosity.
It feels inferior.
Got it.
And it's it just makes me feel horrible, you know, to not be correct. I just don't like that feeling of not being
Yeah.
correct about something. I want to
Absolutely.
know what it is I'm talking about, and if I don't know, I just stay quiet until I figure it out.
Totally get it. Totally get it. So what happened in your childhood when you were wrong?
Kind of like what you was talking about, you know, if you were wrong, it was the belt came out and you were
Something
yelled
bad
at,
happened.
you were belittled and made to feel like crap.
Yeah.
So, and then I still feel like that, you know, if I try to talk to somebody and I find out that I'm wrong about it, I mean, it's like a panic attack almost. It's like, oh my gosh, I was
I can
wrong
feel
about that.
I can feel it. I can feel all the trauma still trapped in your body,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you know, what I want to give you most is you can totally release all that, right? Like it's not really permanently there, and you will have to release that.
Right.
Because, so let me give you some truths, right? The truth is you don't need knowledge to be successful. What?
Really?
We were told all our lives that we just had to have a lot of knowledge. Do you know that that is one of the biggest lies that I have found in being wealthy? I don't actually need to know anything. And let me say it this way. Henry Ford proved this. I flew out to the premiere of Think and Grow Rich in LA. You know, the new movie got reenacted. So I flew out to LA with Bob Proctor and, you know, some other bigwigs that were in the movie. And I love it. They reenacted the scene of Henry Ford, right? This is a true story. Henry Ford, you know, Ford Motor Company. He was put on the stands back in his day, because this man he had no education. And so he was ignorant in the sense of he had no knowledge. He didn't have any education. And yet he was the most successful man of his time in the US, right? So they had him on the stand, and the prosecutors prosecute him, and he's like trying to like go, well, what happened in the war of da 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 da, and what happened in this? And he says, this is just ridiculous. He goes, I don't need to have knowledge. I don't need knowledge. He goes, all I have, and the way he had explained it was like, he goes, I have 12 buttons on my desk, and if I need to know something, I just hit the button of the person who knows that knowledge.
Wow.
You know, that is so true on how success really works. Do you know that the people that are making the most money, and you know these people, are not the most knowledgeable?
Wow.
How many of us know this? Right? And we're in school, we're taught, oh no, you've got to be really smart, and you got to know in order to make any money, right? To survive, you've got to be really smart. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Wow.
That's actually not that is not a recipe inside of the recipe for success. You do not need knowledge. You do need to know a resource of someone who has the knowledge, but you do not need knowledge. So I know a guy that has no knowledge. This is a true story. I mean, I have a lot of true stories, but this guy has no knowledge, okay? And he makes $800,000 a year.
Oh.
And you say, well, what the heck does he do? How does he make 800,000 if he has no knowledge, Mia? Oh, because he doesn't need knowledge. He just needs to know leverage. So he actually has 4 centers with 4 chiropractors in them. He does not know how to practice chiropractic. He's not a chiropractor. Doesn't know any knowledge on how to be a chiropractor. But he has 4 centers where he has 4 chiropractors, and he runs all of them, and he makes $800,000 a year.
Wow.
No knowledge. But he has leverage.
Right.
He's leveraging resources. So why I want to give you that so much is because you've been lied to. You've been told it's all about knowledge. And the truth is, it isn't knowledge. You don't need to know to sell something. You just need to be able to say, that's a great question. I don't know that, but I know that I'll find the person who does. And you just need to give them an answer. But you do not need to know it all.
Right.
right? Like I don't need to know it all. I ran an insurance company for 24 years. I didn't sell the products that my staff was selling, right? I sold something different, but I didn't need to have the knowledge to make sure that I sold that. I could always find someone who knew the answer.
That
It's
makes a lot
being
of sense.
resourceful is more important than knowledge.
I like that.
Yeah. So I want to free you from that.
That's
Let's
powerful.
let's blow that one up. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Does that help you, really start to put some space, white space between that and like separate
Yeah.
the lie from the truth on that? Because that's just,
I have many places I can go for resources.
everybody, right? This is
Yes.
my point. This is exactly my point. And let me tell you, I see this across the board. Network marketing, one of the top people that I know in network marketing, she's making more money in 2 years. She's like on the fastest one to make the most amount of money, then break every record that anyone's ever made. She makes $25,000 a month and she's in her second year.
Wow.
And she doesn't know the product. That's not what she sells. When she goes in, she recruits people to become recruiters. She sells them on the opportunity of their financial freedom. And she's selling financial products, but she doesn't know the knowledge of financial products. She sells from that and then gives it to the person who does the financial service part if they don't want to be a recruit.
Wow.
Does that make sense? She doesn't have knowledge. She's just really clear that she's going after recruits.
Right.
Big distinction. Right?
That's an open door.
What?
That's an open door.
Right? Like, can you see this? And yet
Yeah.
I get a lot of people who struggle because, they've been taught they had to know it all first. So then they get paralyzed with they don't have enough information. Because could you ever have enough information?
No.
Never. Could we ever really know everything?
Nope.
No, that's why we got Google. Right? I mean, we just can never know it all, right? But to
Right.
think that we have to know it all before we'll allow ourselves to be successful is a complete lie. Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Good. I love that. Lynn, thank you so much for sharing all your juicy stuff with it, but that is exactly the key. Definitely the key. So you just do that and we'll set that thing for you. Just go right through your roof. I'm breaking records.
Thank you.
Good. My pleasure. All right. The last one, Elena, are you on? Yeah.
I am.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Okay, good. You're there, Elena. All right, good. So I think one thing that holds me back is tied to mindset. I'm working full time, trying to balance work life. And biz is a true struggle. At times I feel like the extra income I generate isn't worth the stress burden I put on everyone around me, including myself. I also don't feel like I adequately serve my customers because of this busy schedule. I have so many ideas on how to be better in this area, but I don't take the time to follow through. I enjoy working with people in their health and fitness, so I know it's something that I want to continue to build and pursue. I just need to allocate the time right and still have downtime to rest and relax. So after what you heard tonight, what do you now see about this? I want to see if my stuff is landing.
I think it is a lot of the things that I mean, just knowing how to break that time out, and really my work life takes a lot of leadership out of me. So I manage 57 other employees, and I'm the CFO of a child welfare agency. So it's a pretty high demand job.
Yeah.
So to refuel myself,
Yeah.
and I'm always on, so like you talked about the leadership and whether or not do you have to know it all. I never know it all, but I have to have all the answers or find the person that's going to give them the answers that they need. So by the end of the day, it's like, dang it, now I have to do it, having that energy to do it again for the business is really where I'm struggling, and how I don't know, how to refuel that.
So tell me, what do you see in your job is the number one killer of your energy that like just sucks it right out of you? What is that?
My day job?
Yeah.
A zillion questions that everybody asks.
So you're inside of leadership, right? And they ask a zillion questions. So may I offer you something? So I used to have like my staff come to me and ask me for everything, right? And I would be like, I'm busy. I have so much work to do. Like, how could they possibly? But I didn't want to say no to them. So I would just take them all, like everybody kept asking me all the questions and they would interrupt me like all day long. I would never get anything done because I was always like trying to put out fires. And then it dawned on me that them coming to me and asking for the answers meant that somehow I was not leading them. So I had to start looking at like, why is this happening? What am I not leading them about? And then I started saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. They can come to me with a problem, but they need to bring 2 solutions. Right? So I started saying, okay, totally come to me, but you need to bring me 2 solutions on how you're going to solve this. And then they literally would get up to come walk to me and they would like come up with the 2 solutions, solve it, and go back to their desk before they ever asked me and interrupted me. Right? So that solved a lot of that. And then for those that were like, I can't make a decision because they're afraid to be wrong. Right? For the ones that are like, oh my God, right, I can't get this wrong, right? Those people, I help them make accurate decisions. So what I gave them was a system to do that. So what it looked like was inside of like, we don't ever make accurate decisions coming from worry and concern and ego, right? Can you always feel like every time you make a decision from in there, it never pans out well. Right? It just never is. So what I would do is I would get them to start thinking inside of the end in mind. What's the end in mind of the end result that they want? Because most people don't think like that. Because when you're in panic, you're just trying to solve the immediate. So you make quick fix decisions instead of big picture, long term. Right? So one of the things that I would do is I would lay this out, and you can put this into a process, right? That's the awesome thing about this. You can put it into an actual processee such that they all start implementing this process of how to make accurate decisions, right? So like work it out into a process and then get them to see that they first want to stop, breathe, like hit the pause button, right? Breathe, look at the end in mind and go, okay, what's the end result that needs to happen? And then now from there, how would I make that happen? And then allow the answer to come. And then take action from inside of that. So it kind of looks like this, just so you know, if you've never seen this before, but it kind of looks like this again, where like if I'm looking for an accurate decision, right? And I go, okay, so how would I do that? So I'm going to hit the pause button. And then I would say, well, how would I do that? So you're going to write that on the top. And then anytime we're answering a question, right, what is happening is the question is falling inside of what are the resources that I have to solve this, right? Right? Going back to that. So then that always leads to my resources are always going to be about people. Who's the person? Idea, product, or service, right? So so how would I do that is always going to lead to a resource. So I just need to then go, well, how would I do that? And then what's the resource? Oh, what's the person, right? What's for the end result, right? And then, oh, it's not a person. Well, what's an idea that I can do to solve this? Right? Can you see how it goes down a line of like, you can all of a sudden have them start making accurate decisions. And then in the beginning, just so that you build trust in your team and they build confidence in making decisions, you can still have them come to you and say, look at, these are the 2 decisions. These are the 2 solutions I came with. So they're still coming to you with the solutions. And then when you start going, oh, you've got this, and you trust their process and they're following the process and they become confident, they'll stop coming to you. Right? Now there's one more thing in there that I want to give you, because that is just a symptom. the thing that I want to really give you is the reason I would have people come to me is I thought that was my value. So there's like a double-edged sword with that, right? It's kind of like, I want to be of tremendous value. And yet then at the same time, like, this cost me my life, right? Because I'm always overwhelmed. I'm never getting my stuff done, right? So that inferiority ego is really at the heart of all this, but that's still a really great strategy on how to solve, right?
Well, most of my employees, so I work for a state agency, and unfortunately, most of the employees do come from an inferiority background or feeling.
Yeah.
And once you become a state employee, then you can never really get fired. So if I never make a decision, then it's really not a big deal because somebody else above me will make that decision. And so that's a lot of the reasons why they come to me. It's not because they have to or that I am forcing them to come to me, but statutorily, one, from a legal perspective, if they do make a decision, I have to sign off on things. But then the flip side of it is that they don't want to make the decision.
They don't want to be wrong.
They've been trained for so long. So trying to break them into, and I've started that with them, but it's not just so we have 2,000 employees within this entire state agency.
Okay.
That about half of them are financial. The other ones are social workers. So
Yep.
I never hardly ever interact with the social workers, juvenile probation officers.
Yeah.
The financial people, though, whenever they have to make a decision, they can't make the decision without consulting with me if they don't know what the law is. So that's a struggle, really, and it's frustrating. It's like, man, we know what the law is. Like, we have the policies, we have the procedures. Like, what are you, there's no reason to come to me, but because they're afraid to make that decision, then they email me, call me, whatever the case may be.
Right. And that's why I would implement the rule that they can come to you, but they must have the two solutions, that are going to work, or the one solution that's going to work, because you will see that they'll stop coming to you. Because when they can go, oh, she's just going to approve this anyway, because you're just going to look and go, yeah, that's exactly right, right? Like, all of a sudden they're like, then the concern of looking bad is greater than the concern of doing it wrong. And then all of a sudden the ego switches from a different concern, and they stop doing it. Like, literally my staff stopped coming to me.
And the majority of my staff, even though I directly manage about 57 employees, most of them, they know what my thought process is. They know what I'm going to say. They're really good at understanding who I am and what I'm going to say. But then it becomes filtering out the other people that I don't manage. Because so now I have to shift, like today there's a review that happened, and, fire, because they're social workers. They're like, you have to be here. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's like, well, I don't really. And, it's going to take care of itself, and I'm not going to go crisis mode on you.
Yeah.
And that frustrated the heck out of them. But none of my employees jumped. I just went to them and I said, here's the deal. This is what you have to work through. These are things you need to find and you need to solve.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're done, and then let them know, but still it was having to stop what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it becomes very tricky when there's so many more people to have to.
So you just need a different system. So there's a great little thing that is free called Vidyard. It's a video that literally goes into your Chrome, your browser thing. It's free. It's called Vidyard Go Video. And I can literally just, at a push of a button, click on something and do a short video, even if it's just audio, showing them my computer, or I could be on video and show them my computer, right? It has both options. But the reason I like this is because you just need to do one inside of the process, policy and procedure, and literally have them refer to that. That would answer the questions. Anything that you're doing more than one time a year should really be in a system that has it not have to be done again.
Right.
It's just a different way of thinking. You're not used to solving it that way. You're used to like having them always come to you. I'm telling you, like, do something complete, because remember that reticular activating system is only going to see what you believe is going to happen, which is the only thing that keeps happening is everybody keeps interrupting you. So I want you to do the exact opposite. I want you to actually focus on what a simple system that you're not doing, a video that explains the extra process, or like literally goes click to the right, do that, like a really step-by-step video. The reason I say this is they implemented checklists in surgeries, right? And they found how many millions of dollars this saved them, because surgeons, human beings, would forget to, they would leave stuff inside the patient. When they would do surgeries, they would make so many mistakes, and which would cost them lawsuits. So they would implement a checklist, and rightfully so, right? Like, can you imagine if our airline pilots didn't use checklists? I mean, like, oh my gosh. So, something like as easy as a checklist on certain things that are so common that happens, where they just need to go through the checklist and make sure they've hit every key point before they ever come talk to you. Once they talk to you, they can come talk to you, but the checklist must be completed. You will save yourself so much people interrupting you, right? It's inside of just doing it slightly different. Does that help you?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like tomorrow we're doing a training, so our group is training the entire agency. They're used to this training. The person that me before used to run the entire thing. So this time, I'm going to be stepping back and I'm not going to talk.
Okay.
I'm going to Q&A at the end. It's a 2-hour presentation and they're doing the bulk of it. And they were shocked. They're like, wait, what? We have to do this? We have to come up with a talk? We have to decide what we're talking about? And then I'll do a framework. Like, these are the topics. These are the top 3 things you have to talk about. But you're doing it because it's your division. So little by little, they're starting to sort of do that, but filtering it out, and there's a lot of people in change management does not happen quickly in state agencies.
Oh, I know. I definitely know. I mean, I worked in court, and like that's court, State Farm is still a corporate company, right? So, I always used to say, it's a huge boat. So when it turns like, like super slow. And, but I was always so interested in the faster way to get my agency up to speed, right? Like my agency operated at a much higher level of effectiveness and efficiency, and we didn't have the overwhelm. We had more policies that were actually serviced by less people because of the effectiveness and efficiencies of the systems. Because that feeling, that point, right? It's like if your people are not being effective and efficient, then they get complacent, right? And then so there's like this fine point, right? Where how much is too many people and how much is too little people, right? And where is it just right? I'm like the Goldilocks syndrome, right? I want it just right. And so, yes, I totally get you. And I totally get like all that stuff, what has to happen inside of that. And I'm standing that you can have this highly effective efficiently just being done in maybe a different manner that nobody's done it before. And you're the perfect person for that, because I can tell like nobody else would do it as great as you're going to do it. So it's just tweaking the way you think it needs to be done, doing it completely out of the box, but such that you hold the end in mind. Again, same thing, right? How would I do this? If the end in mind is that I have all this free time, right? I have all this free time because I get all my stuff done and everything gets done and the company's running so highly effective and efficient. What needs to happen? How would I do that? And now brainstorm through your resources. Is it like a product, a service, like in like the product could be like a checklist, right? It could be, a video, because people are always asking on the same one exactly how to do it, attaching a video to the policy and procedures, right? Anything inside of that will make your life like so easy. The checklist, making sure they come with a solution. They can come with a problem, but they got to bring at least 2 solutions. That will like clean up a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
So
totally will. And I haven't done that. I mean, I knew about that piece of it, but I haven't implemented that for my staff.
Yeah. It will
that'll-
solve so many issues. I'm telling you, that's exactly how I solved it. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that so many years ago? Sometimes I had to hit my head, but just because it came from that hard work. You have a hard work ethic, right? Let me guess. You were raised that you had to be the one that did everything. Let me guess. You're like the person who, is the one that's going to get it done. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. Oh, wait a minute. Who does this sound like? Me, you, Janice, you, all of you. We know that person. That's why you don't think outside the box or figure out a different way, because you're like.
Well, and I have been, like just with today, I told my staff, you guys are wasting way too much time. You have to lean this out. What are you going to do? I gave them ideas. And of course, right now, the individual that I was giving the ideas to, she's like, nope, not going to work. Nope, not going to work. Nope, not going to work. It's like, well, you have to come up with something, because, these are my ideas. This is what I'm seeing from my perspective.
That's right.
And you guys are just burning yourselves out, and it's not worth it. And you're going to be miserable and unhappy forever. And you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Totally get it. Totally get it. I wish they would all do the Mindset course. Get all the ego out of all of it. Let's just eradicate the ego from the office, okay? Because that's where it's all coming from, right? It's like, I'm afraid to be wrong. I can't be wrong. I'm afraid what people are going to think of me. I don't want to, I don't like, it's all like the need for approval, the need to be, the fear of being wrong. It's all inferiority ego or superiority ego. Like, I'm going to be the one that's going to do it the right way, right? And everybody else is going to be wrong, right? It shows up in everything.
And how do you teach them? I mean, other than like going through a course like this, like how do you teach them through the leadership of how to do that? And I even think with coaching, it's sort of the same way. You really see that potential in someone, but help them get out of their own, out of their own way.
Yeah. And that's a brilliant, with coaching. It's a brilliant question, because that's why I do the work I do, because I, after being successful, I would go and coach somebody and I'd give them the most amazing strategy, right? And they would fail, right? This is when I first started years and years ago. And I was like, that was brilliant strategy. I know that would work. I've done that strategy, right? And then I was like, why does that not work? Because you can't, no brilliant strategy on top of an inferiority ego is going to work ever. It defies law, right? So that's why I would love to tell you there's like a really quick answer, but there isn't. That's why my course takes 6 weeks, right? It's not because I'm trying to drag it out because I think I need to have more attention or something like it's not because I need 6 weeks. It's because the components of what they need to get on how they got this way, and then what they need to understand inside of the way this works, and then how to get that complete. And then inside of like where they can see their ego, they literally see their ego. It's like people are like, oh! Like they literally see it. They see when they created it. It's like life changing. And I don't know how to do that in like this. Maybe and I'm not against it, because like I'm always looking like, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? How can this even be better? How can this even be better? So I'm always in the self-mastery of it, but I have narrowed it down to one person. I can do that within 5 hours. If I work one-on-one with someone, I can do it within 5 hours. I can reprogram them. I'm trying to do a group, so I'm doing it in 6 weeks. But I don't know I haven't found it yet, but I'm standing for it. I would love it. I know other people that they don't do anything what I do, but I know that they're doing it the mechanical way. They're trying to use binary beats, and they're trying to use, like, cause I know a couple, I'm in a mastermind, and this one group of, they're a doctor, she's a doctor, and, they use binary beats, and they use, they try to do the mechanical way but it doesn't clear the ego. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is, I haven't seen it done faster, quicker, in less than 5 hours. I've never seen it, but I'm open. If you hear of something, I want to know it. But the only thing I can think of is the only thing I have is a course that I know that will do it. But that's what's really going on. It's like, because it's like, look at our relationships, right, guys? Like, when you have, I mean, I can so clearly tell you this. I used to be married for 24 years before I understood all this. And now that I see so clearly everything that was really going on. Like, I was just my ego against his ego. And so of course we're going to argue. Like, yeah, that's what's happening in the offices. It's all egos against egos. When you remove the ego, there is nothing there. So now I'm in a relationship where the guy, actually went through the same, I did the training on him. Fascinating enough. And so I know, right? She's laughing. I'm like, yeah, I need to heal you, right?
Yeah. I can do this training with my husband. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you totally can. Not only that, I recommend it. Like, I really recommend it because it literally is life transforming, right? And so literally, like, the partner that I have now, I mean, he is just incredible because he doesn't blame me or use me for any excuse of what he's an ego. He calls his own ego out. He literally owns his own stuff. And like, our relationship is incredible. It's amazing. Like, I wish I would have known that even back then, just from because maybe we would have never gotten divorced. Right. But I'm just saying, like, that is what takes people out. It's not what we think it is. It's not, it's like when you have two people who haven't healed things from childhood, and then everything is defending, protecting, or reacting from those earlier childhood pains because those traumas still live in the body until you complete them. Then the triggers that we're feeling, of those feelings of inadequacy, feelings of not good enough, those are all traumas before the guy ever showed up. Be truthful, right? And so now you've got our traumas and their traumas, and then you're in both an ego, and then you wonder why the divorce rate's so high, right? Like, I totally understand why the divorce rate's so high because that is all of that, right? But when you get rid of that, it's not necessary. It really is not necessary. That's the biggest thing I really want you guys to know. It's not necessary. We tolerate way too much. We don't need to, we can thrive. Like, it's our birthright. You were born to be successful. It's your birthright, right? You were born with everything you need, your imagination, your feelings. You were born to be successful. So anything that is not success, just trust that is not the truth, right? It is not what you were really for. It's not your full potential. It's not. So anything that is not that contains a lie. That's what I say. It contains a false premise, a lie, an erroneous idea, or belief that you've been taught a lie, and you have it in your programming, and that's what's really taking you out.
You're
not,
amazing.
yeah, right? Good.
I love it.
Good. All right, I know I kept you guys forever.
No, we kept you too. I love it. We're big talkers, and I'm really thankful that you were able to come on and talk. And
absolutely
wanted to say thank you. I know my team is so grateful. I just know because that's just their heart. Like, they just. I really, really appreciate other people's time. And we know how important your time is. So thank you so much for being on here. The call is recorded, so we'll get that up. And I'm sure there's many nuggets that you guys were listening so intently that I wasn't even writing it down. I'm like, I should have wrote that down. Oh, never mind. It's recorded. So
it's recorded.
We can go back and listen to it. So thank you again. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before you jump off?
No, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for like being open with me and like, sharing everything with me. Like, I know it takes something, right? Like you don't know me. You're like, you don't know if I'm going to judge you. I'm not. You can say anything to me. But like, just thank you for taking the courage and being open and vulnerable, to really look at this stuff and go and question what the beliefs that you have. So that's all. I honor you all for who you are and your greatness and how beautiful women you are. And I just stand that you live from your full potential and spirit and rock it, right? Really make all the money you want. My partner keeps calling me. I know you're going to be in bed soon.
All right. Well, we'll have honey. Well, thank you.
Sounds great. Bye, guys. Have a great evening. Bye.
Good night.
All right, girls. Thank you so much for staying on tonight. I know that she's just full of amazing. She spent like 2.5 hours with me on the phone today, and like an hour and a half the other day. So I'm just like, my mind is woo. She's so positive, and if anybody had any questions about working with her, I know Andrea can get you in touch with her. I think I just accepted her friend request because I was being picky about my 5,000 friends. But I gave in, and I'm her friend, and her first and last name, if you guys want to shoot her a message, let me know, and then I can screenshot her Facebook.
She offers a free call if anyone wants to.
Yeah, one-on-one free call. That's what she did for me. Is she okay with me saying her prices, Catherine? She never told me that I couldn't.
I know she would prefer to have a one-on-one. Provide the value.
I know the class that she's talking about.
If you want to work with her further, then she'll give the pricing down to everyone.
I know the class that she was talking about, kind of like how Shalene Johnson has her module type thing set up. She's creating one. So you would be a part of a beta test group, and that's really what it is. And she was saying that she normally takes 5 hours one-on-one with someone, and she's breaking that 5 hours that she did with Catherine, down into 6 weeks. And I know that was $497 or under 5. So I know that was one thing that she was saying, that is a group, and it makes it more affordable. So.
Yeah, so I did the one-on-one coaching with her. That was a 6-month transformation. So I was gonna get somewhere. So that was a one-on-one, but like the one-on-one coaching, the one-on-one call. If you do decide to get her for the free call, you can really see if you want to dig deeper. And if you just want to go